We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Political futures are in peril, and yet the progressive futurist march towards us continues without missing a beat. Can America survive the upcoming political campaigns and a divisive president? Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio here on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's show, we'll discuss DeSantis' possible spiral, massive COVID fraud, flying cars, and much, much more. I want to take a moment to say a special thank you to our listeners out in Great Falls, Montana on KQDI 1450 AM and 97.5 FM. Thank you for being here. Now remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com. You can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Despite the headlines, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis seems unable to catch up to a much belabored Donald Trump in the race for the GOP presidential nomination. Now, is he on a collision course with 45, or can he pull out of the spiral and make a last-minute pitch to Republican voters? We're very fortunate to be joined by a longtime host of this here radio show, who also happens to be Liberty Nation's senior political analyst, Mr. Tim Donna. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Always fun, Mark. Thank you.
So tell me, Tim, tell me about Ron DeSantis' trajectory. What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing what most people are seeing, which is that he's sort of sucking for oxygen because of all the publicity that Trump has gotten. Look, DeSantis was the hottest ticket in town, as I wrote on LibertyNation.com on Wednesday. He, after his stunning landslide re-election as governor of Florida, together with an announcement by Trump that was very ineffective, I think most people would say, not much pomp and circumstance or fanfare, and not many luminaries, as they say, on hand for Trump's announcement. Those two things together put DeSantis on a trajectory towards the top. As we saw it then, Trump went from 40 points up last summer of 2022 after the Mar-a-Lago raid, to essentially tied with DeSantis as late as March of this year. Now Trump is 30 points ahead again after the two indictments. So I don't know what you do as a candidate when your opponent keeps getting arrested and keeps adding to his lead. He just can't seem to get any momentum. He's lost the momentum. Can he gain it back is a very open question, because he's contributed to the sense that he's not really ready for prime time with a botched rollout where technical problems prevented him getting out his very announcement that he was running for president, even though tens of millions ultimately did access the announcement. But he has made some missteps that are not out of the ordinary for someone who's a rookie presidential candidate. But he's given, honestly, no real indications of being able to gain his momentum, though his closest advisors and a super PAC which supports him believe that, Trump's legal problems may be to his advantage now for voters who say, I'm going to go for Trump just to show the left that they cannot basically target him and imprison him in order to stop us from voting for him. So out of principle, many people are voting for Trump, and that just doesn't leave much room left for DeSantis, especially when he's got another 10 candidates vying for attention, all of whom will take a small piece of the pie. And in a grossly divided field of 13 candidates, it's very difficult to see a path for DeSantis unless unexpected events intervene. But of course, with Trump, everything is unexpected. Everything is spectacular. There is no such thing as bad publicity. And Trump keeps getting stronger as his legal position gets weaker. Go figure.
Well, that legal position, we have talked about this before on earlier editions of Liberty Nation Radio, but it got me thinking that perhaps an element of this is the Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, as I call it. Like that there's a certain American fascination with the criminals, almost of the Robin Hood variety, if you like. So, for example, he may be a criminal, but he's doing this, that, and the other for the poor people of America, kind of thing. And there was an aura of celebrity around Bonnie and Clyde, and that was really made very apparent in the more recent Oliver Stone movie called Natural Born Killers, the celebrity of these destructive forces. And I'm wondering if people aren't just so tired of business as usual politics that they're looking to Trump not so much to be a continuation of his 2016-2020 presidency, but more we need to, and I quote here, we need to burn it down and start again.
That's why, and the left doesn't understand this. This is why people keep supporting Trump despite everything, despite all his, insults in public, despite his, losing the election in 2020, although many thought he didn't on the conservative side. January 6th seemed to be a dividing point where most political observers felt, and with good reason, that it was all over for Trump because they would so easily be able to depict him as a out and out insurrectionist after January 6th. But he has a stature and a strength that is, for his supporters, impervious to the slings and arrows of the left, to Alvin Bragg's ridiculous indictment in New York, to the federal indictment most people also believe, based on, popularity polls that show politicians essentially about as believable to the public as used car salesmen. They run neck and neck. That most politicians have bodies buried in their skeletons, buried in their closet, as evidenced by the number of people like Joe Biden who come to Washington with no money and now are multi-millionaires. I think they discount the bad deeds of Trump, so to speak, and write it off as largely something that, look, most politicians are crooked, right? So does he really stand apart from them as much as they claim? And I think the answer so far has been no.
Okay, so let's get back to DeSantis briefly. Policy-wise, do you think he's connecting with the Trump base, or is it all going to be decided, the primary is going to be decided on personality, do you think?
Well, this is a fascinating element of the whole thing, Mark, is that DeSantis's entry into the race and his hardcore culture war rhetoric, which is music to the ears of many on the right, is nevertheless coming across in some quarters as being shrill and extreme. And so Trump has unwittingly been positioned, thanks to DeSantis's campaign, as sort of more moderate, more centrist, because, for example, the 6-week ban in Florida on abortion that DeSantis pushed, that was something that Trump said is going to lose an awful lot of voters. And he said he's trying to insult him as being part of the swamp, the establishment, and a neocon warmonger, all of this stuff. And so far it's succeeding. Trump actually looks like the more moderate or more centrist of the two candidates, which of course will serve him very well in the general election.
Trump the moderate. Let's see if the New York Times prints that one for us. Tim Donna, yes. Thanks ever so much for being here.
Always a pleasure.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking, free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.